Welcome to the Period Besties podcast with Stasha and Katie. Think about it as chatting with your best friends about all the TMI stuff you've never talked about before with two period coaches who've been helping hormones collectively for over 20 years now. I'm Stasha.
And I'm Katie, and we're pulling back the curtain on what it's like in the world of menstrual coaching. From puberty to menopause and everything in between, we're here to show you how period coaching can save the day. We'll share practical tips and information you can put to immediate use to improve your hormones and happiness.
We're removing the mystery, ending the taboo, and shining a light on just how powerful period coaching can be.
So whether you need period coaching or are considering becoming a period coach yourself, these episodes are going to help you. We'll share stories, coach live on air, and bring smart, savvy guests to share their wisdom too. Let's start today's episode.
If you're struggling with perimenopause symptoms like insomnia, rage, hot flashes, mood swings, anxiety, all the things,
we are opening the doors to our most popular Period Besties workshop, Nourish and Flourish, Eating Well for Perimenopause.
we'll share our step-by-step process for soothing your symptoms and feeling like yourself again.
Click the link in the show notes to sign up. Don't delay. Early bird pricing is limited.
Welcome back, Period Besties. We are so honored to have one of my very, very dear friends, Abby Anderson, joining us today for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. She was diagnosed a few years ago and is here with us today to share her story, to help educate you all, and to really understand what we should be doing, what we should be looking out for, and really how to take care of her overall health. And I am just so honored that you're joining us today. Thank you so much for being here, Abby.
You're welcome. I'm so happy to be here too.
So walk us through what was going on in your life at the time. I know you were postpartum when you discovered something was off. Like, we didn't know what was going on yet, but you just knew something wasn't right. Walk us through and share with us that experience.
Yeah, I delayed my first mammogram, so I didn't get it until I was 41. Obviously, I don't recommend that now, but at the time I had just quit my job and I was traveling with my family and changed insurance. And so I just didn't do it before we left. And, looking back now, it all worked out. But I think it was just, luckily, we figured it all out, but I just couldn't handle it at the time. And so when I went in at 41 for my first mammo, they found calcium spots. It's nothing I could have felt through self-exams, and my doctors didn't catch it. So when they found the calcium deposits, the nurses doing the mammogram were like, "Oh, it's probably nothing." And I don't like that they said that. I think about that often, and I'm like, is that what they say every day to their patients when, they're screening for cancer and we found cancer? So I was diagnosed with DCIS, which is ductal carcinoma in situ. It's basically in the milk ducts. And again, nothing I could have felt. So it's basically inside that root system of milk ducts. And it had been there for years. Because of the milk ducts, it's not invasive, and DCIS it's a slow growing cancer. So when they found it, it was about 3.5 inches by 2.5 inches, so fairly large. Think of, the roots of a tree, and this is infecting maybe the size of a lime in there. And so they gave me a call first. I guess I should, thinking back of what happened. First, they gave me a call after the mammogram. It was like 5 days after, right? You have to wait. And they said, the calcium deposits are actually cancer cells. And this is just a nurse calling. And he said it's DCIS and it's in your milk ducts. And a nurse navigator will reach out to you and call you later today to talk about next steps. And that's it. So I think they understand the shock of it and that you're not going to be able to take in all that information, right? And so they let the nurse navigator call after a few hours. And I had felt like something was wrong just because, well, obviously because of the calcium deposits, but because when I nursed my babies on that side, I had nursed 2 babies at age 37 and 39, and here I am at 41, and they're saying, "Oh, there's something in your left breast." I always had issues nursing on that side. The crazy thing is that that doesn't affect the babies at all. My first question was not about me. I'm like, "How the hell did I nurse 2 babies successfully and they're healthy?" Like, had never had a cavity, had never broken anything, and they're very healthy kids. And so fast forward, I went to get an MRI, and that's when they understood the scope of the cancer. And then I went to see an oncologist, and she was the one who consulted with her peer doctors, and she had to email me back because she just didn't know off the top of her head. She said 7 out of 7 doctors agree that those cancer cells don't affect the milk or the baby whatsoever. How cool is that?
It's amazing what our body can do, right?
Yes, just to protect the baby.
Yeah.
So the oncologist was just sort of a preliminary meeting, and then I went to my breast cancer surgeon, and then I had to find plastic surgeon for reconstruction. And what other doctors did I have to see? So the nurse navigator kept that all together, and my primary care doctor was the one who I guess was supposed to be the main doctor to collect all the information, right? So a lot of doctors, and the breast cancer surgeon was this lovely woman, Stephanie Miller in Denver, and she talked about my options. Now, because it was non-invasive and slow growing and all the hormone negative, it didn't respond to hormones, which was a good thing. I could just do a lumpectomy and then do radiation or chemo down the road after that. Or I could do a single mastectomy and then radiation. Or I could do a double mastectomy and that was it. And I thought, okay, why not? Let's just take them off. I don't want to go through all the pain and the heartache and the chemicals and everything to try and kill these cells. Just do it through surgery. So that's what we went forward with. And, facing this, taking off my breasts as a 41-year-old woman, I was thinking, okay, I'm halfway through my life. I think I do want reconstruction, but I'm not really into implants. And I know a lot of people, that's fine. I just am not into taking medications. I'm very much about the natural path. And so I was really not happy with the idea of this. I went to the first consultation with a plastic surgeon, and he was like the big plastics guy in town. Everybody raved about him. But I quickly realized that this is not where I was supposed to be. He was talking to me in a way that, we just were not on the same wavelength. He was sort of saying, well, this isn't a glow up. This isn't, and I'm thinking, I'm not here to improve my looks. I was interested in talking about the deep flap surgery, which is where they take your stomach fat and put it where your breast tissue was. And he said that I did not have enough stomach fat. And here I am postpartum with my kangaroo pouch. And I've always been a curvy person. And I'm thinking, how? And by the end of the conversation, I was just done with this man. So we went to another plastics guy who was really on the premiere of that deep flap surgery and natural reconstruction. And I really liked what he said. So we ended up going with that. So let's see, it was about 3 months until surgery. Now, if you have a more invasive tumor or something like that, you could be in surgery in 2 weeks. But because mine was not so severe, I had to wait. And I had a hard time with that. That's when the mental part started, right? Like, how am I living every day with this inside of me? And then just dreading what was to come. It was a really hard period. So let's see, I looked into what my insurance could do for mental health. And as soon as you hit your deductible, you get free therapy. So I was right on Talkspace as soon as I heard that and finding a therapist. And I ended up also, a friend of mine is a mental health coach, and she offered her services from a few states away, which was awesome. And I tried to continue yoga, but I found that I could not do it with all the chest openers and, heart opening things. I really could not. So I recently, after a year and a half, just started doing yoga again, and it feels great. So let's see what happened next. I was going through my mental checklist, trying to keep everything going with 2 toddlers at home and my husband helping as much as he possibly could, and trying to get second opinions on the plastics part of it and just educating myself, right? Like reading books, trying to find a community around this. And it's really hard to find. I didn't find anything locally. I looked on Facebook. There's a bunch of great groups. I found a closed group that was called Breast Cancer Straight Talk, which I liked a lot. I, of course, talked to so many friends and family who everybody has somebody that has been affected by breast cancer or another type, and ended up being connected with someone who did preventative deep flap surgery, the same surgery that I wanted. And we became very close over the process. And I was so happy to have her as a resource. And we still talk quite often. Just this becomes your whole life, right? And it's very serious, but we're still human and we're still finding ways to laugh and enjoy every day. So it was easier, I think, to talk to her about things that might sound very severe, but we could laugh about it. So I wish that there were more groups that would connect people like that. And we talk about starting something like Bosom Sisters or, something that we could try and connect people with, just a place to talk and also what you need through these surgeries. So coming up onto my first surgery, it was.
But can I pause you for a second?
Mhm.
Let's just pause because that's a lot. So that's from the moment you discovered, just in less than 3 months.
Mhm.
Like you pedal to the metal or whatever that saying is, right?
Yeah.
Go. And you're a mom, you're a business owner, and trying to navigate this, that's a lot. And I know we've talked about it on the side and personally, but I just wanted to pause for everybody that's a lot of advocating for yourself, researching,
Mhm.
and showing up the way you want to show up in the world as a mom and as a friend and as a human being.
Mhm.
And to be young, we consider under 50 to be young for breast cancer. And I have a friend in Australia who advocates for young women to take breast cancer more seriously because she was very young when she was diagnosed. But those numbers and those rates are going up. So having that first mammogram at 40 may not be the standard soon. You're right. Like if you have a history of breast cancer, you can get your first mammogram at 35 with most insurance companies. Yay, America. But most of the time it's 40, but I feel like that's going to be dropping because we're seeing so many more people who are under 50 getting breast cancer that don't have the BRCA gene. We have it in my family, and not everybody has it. So some of the women have it, some of them don't. It seems to have skipped some people. So, it's tough to know. And even just based off of family history, you can't necessarily know. And then to be that young, that's also a surprise. There's something about like after 50, it just becomes part of the conversation, right? Like because that it is so much more normal, or was more normal, to get breast cancer 50 plus. But now that so many more people are getting it younger and younger, we really need to be educating women in their 20s on how to check for breast cancer, what to do, options that you have, what are some of the, if you can't get in for a mammogram, what are some other options? Because I didn't have health insurance for a long time, and because my sister has the BRCA gene and I could not get in for genetic testing, even with health insurance, I couldn't get in for genetic testing. I did thermography scans all through my 30s just
Mm.
to have something, to have some sort of record to look at. And then when I hit 40 and then I had health insurance, I was able to get in for a mammogram. But same thing, I wasn't able to do it at 40. I didn't have health insurance at 40. So it did take me until I was 43, 42, 43, I think, before I had health insurance and I could get that first mammogram. So that's why I was doing the thermography scans, because I couldn't even get in for a mammogram without insurance. And then it was outrageously expensive. So, that it does need to be a conversation. But then to be in your shoes where you're younger, you're not expecting, like you kind of go into a mammogram when you're younger and you're just expected to come back fine. You don't really expect it to come back with, there is that little voice in the back of your head that's like, well, it is possible, but you're under 50. Come on. It's not really, and that's so not true anymore. So just that had to have been on top of all of that coming at you at once, also to be on the younger side of the scale, that surprise also has to have some kind of impact in that process where you're like, but I'm not even 50 yet. What the heck?
Yeah, it's shocking. It's really shocking. And I know friends who have, listened to my story or other friends' stories, and there was one woman who's 34 and she has a history in her family, and talked to her primary care doctor about it. And he put her off about doing a mammogram. And I just find it incredible that, I'm wondering, is it because she's a soft-spoken woman? But here you have a gut feeling and you just want to double check something, but they're not willing to do it because of this rule of, oh, you're 34, not 35. Okay. It's wild.
I also feel like there's a better option than a mammogram. There has to be something that can go in, view, find it earlier, find it before it's solidified, something, right? That's the theory behind thermography, is that it can find where blood vessels are gathering before the formation of the tumor, before it's actually, before a mammogram would pick it up. But it's controversial, and if you follow the money, GM bought it out and trashed it so that they could make money with the mammogram machines back in like the 60s or the 70s, something like that. So it's like there should be other options as well, and there should be options that can catch it earlier. And there's no reason that there's not, other than money, lack of, there's a lot of breast cancer research, but it's not necessarily for finding it earlier or better or less invasive or any of that stuff. So I have a lot of bones to pick on this cancer journey, especially when it comes to women's health. And this is one that, it hits close to home. You're right. Everyone has a story, and it could be better. I refuse to believe that it could not be better at this point. We're just choosing not to.
And I have another friend who's in HR work, and I think it's traveling like vehicle. It's probably thermography, what you're speaking of, that they have like a pizza party and then the mammogram bus comes in basically and checks everybody. But yeah, I'm not familiar with that technology. I think it would be lovely if more companies would do that. And it's, we think about our mammogram as this thing that we want to put off. And if we could make it more fun, just like men do with their vasectomies around March Madness and in Vegas or something, we can just create this atmosphere around searching for this earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I would really love to see thermography get good studies and see if it is a better option. But yeah, the whole, especially being younger and then having rules, and of course, our health insurance in the US is an absolute disaster. So it really is, every challenge is just made as hard as it possibly can for women trying to advocate for themselves, trying to go in earlier, trying to do the right thing. And they really make it hard at every step of the way. And every hospital, doctor, testing, insurance, payments, like every person and step along the way, it also feels like they're there to make it harder, which I think what you were saying about having like a bosom buddy sharing group would make such a difference, because that is not easy on a good day to go in and advocate, even just trying to go in and get, the right blood work. I don't know how many times Katie and I have talked about just advocating for a real full blood work panel for your hormones, for your thyroid, for these kinds of things. And how many clients we've had that came back and was like, well, here's my panel. And it's like 3 things. Like, this is not a panel. This is just 3 random things. That's great. So we've got a good one thing, but that doesn't really tell us the full story in any way, shape, or form. And then trying to add on top of it a diagnosis that is, even if it's not life-threatening, right? My ex-girlfriend used to joke that she had cancer light because she didn't have to do the radiation afterwards. She had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And she would joke that she had cancer light. And it was still like, okay, but still we have to go in for chemo for the next 6 months and do all of these things. Like, it was still not a good journey, right? So you're just, what's coming. And even if it's not necessarily life-threatening, there is still a risk there. And you have to fight everyone at every stage all along the way. And then you always end up with one shitty, like the plastic surgeon, right? Like, you always end up with one douche in the canoe, and then now you're stuck. I hate it.
Yeah. Okay, so I read this great autobiography by Sulika Juad. I'm sure I'm not saying her name right, but Between Two Kingdoms. She had cancer, really bad stage 4 cancer, starting at age 19 or 20. And that's where I heard the term cancer light, which I feel like I have as well, or had. And it was just a really great story about being human and going through this thing. And we just don't face this side of life. So she says there are 2 kingdoms, the kingdom of the living and the kingdom of the dying. And for a long time, she was in the kingdom of the dying. Not that she was being morose, but she was facing her own mortality. And I'm very grateful that I was there for a short period. And basically, I went for my first mammogram late 2023. And of course, because of insurance, we waited to do the MRI in January of 2024. So I got that phone call on January 8th of 2024 and went through this, springtime, started with the surgeries. I had 3 surgeries that year. And I feel just so grateful that I was there for 1 year in that other kingdom, that other world of battling for my health. And I am a very healthy person. I also have never broken a bone or gotten a cavity. I've had 2 babies, but again, that's not something that is a sickness or an illness. So this was my first time feeling weak and trying to find the grace in that for myself. Very difficult as a healthy person.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I felt the same way when I finally accepted the fact that, for all intents and purposes, I am disabled. Endometriosis is a chronic illness. It, by any definition, except for, the legal one here in the United States, I can't function. I can't get out of bed. I can't go do something. I am physically incapacitated for a week out of the month. And it took, as a healthy person, right? I was a dance major. I was in companies. I was teaching classes. I mean, I was the yoga teacher. I was your Pilates teacher. I was your ballet bar teacher. And then to have to kind of go, oh, wait, I am also incapacitated. I'm also occasionally teaching from the floor under a hot pad. I am also calling in and having to give up my classes because I can't physically get out of bed, and having to go, oh, wait, I am disabled. That is a weird head moment where you make that realization that you're not that healthy, active person. You are that healthy, active person, but you are also this person struggling with illness, with a disease, with a disability, with whatever it is. And it is a real mind mess in that moment, where it's just like your whole sense of self has to be rebuilt in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. For my brain, I turned to books first. Katie, are you surprised?
No, not at all.
And then, in my adult brain, I couldn't finish a book. So I started 3 different books and then went to the therapy and the mindfulness courses, which were wonderful. I was recommended some self-compassion exercises that really helped me when I was so stressed, just of like holding your heart and holding your pain wherever it is and saying, this is suffering and this is hard and you'll get through this. A lot of things like that helped. I really didn't, let's see, the first help that I sought from a doctor, they just simply said, well, would you like to go on antidepressants? And I have always been adverse to that, but also just, I can't believe that that's the first response. Meditation maybe would be a good place to go first. I will say that I know a lot of people who got on to something quite early that helped them manage life with kids and a job and an illness. I also took beta blockers before my surgeries 2 and 3 because I was just uncontrollably crying the morning of my surgery and just terrified of being out of control. I'm going to sleep now and I have no idea, especially after birth. Like we talk about manifesting your birth, and this is the next biggest thing I have next to that experience, and I'm just saying goodnight.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
What were the surgeries? What you mentioned 1, 2, and 3. Can you walk us through that?
The choice of deep flap surgery is a lot more pain and suffering upfront versus, I think, later when you have implants. It's a pretty easy surgery, just outpatient. You'll be home that day. But when you think of the lifetime of implants, 10 or 15 years down the road, you're going to have to do something if they start to break down, right? What my plastics guy said, over time, the bell curve of getting the deep flap surgery, people actually really like it, preferably because you don't have to do anything. That's your skin, that's your fat tissue. But up front, it's a lot of surgery. I mean, you're talking about similar to a tummy tuck being cut from hip to hip, and they're taking skin and fatty tissue. It is above the muscle now. They're also they also are taking nerves to reattach nerves up top. So it was, let's see, first I got my double mastectomy and went home because, again, insurance, medical issues. The place that my breast surgeon performed surgeries was not willing to let the plastic surgeon come in. So 2 weeks later, I actually had the reconstruction surgery. That was a more intensive ordeal. I stayed in the hospital for 3 days and I could not sit up out of a chair for 6 weeks. And so I basically lived in a electric recliner, which is a must. I mean, I got the recliner with the hand crank, and my friend who had gone through the surgery already came over 2 days before and she said, this won't work. And I said, I don't have the capacity right now for anything else. And she had her old chair there within 6 hours.
That's incredible.
And I slept in that chair for 6 weeks and longer.
That is exactly what my sister did. She had the same surgery after her
Yeah.
second round of cancer, and that's exactly what she did. She slept in that recliner. She had heating pads around her, and she just lived out of that recliner.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, the worst part of that surgery is the drain tubes that they put in. So they did take out lymph nodes on one side and checked them. There was no cancer. So they did not have to go in and onto the other side. But because I'm not draining, or even if you do, they had them on both sides, I had to have those drain tubes, which were just awfully uncomfortable and awkward to go anywhere and have these, I don't know, they looked like limes as well on drain tubes that I had to put them in a little baggie around my neck and carry them around wherever I went, which, so safe to say, I was not feeling up to a Target run or anything.
Yeah.
How are you with that mental journey by the end of this third surgery?
With the help of those beta blockers, I got to surgery without crying, for hours. And as soon as I woke up, I felt like, okay, what's next? What's the next step? And back to my capable self, right? And after the third surgery, I was feeling really good. Some of the things that they can do now, it's incredible. I mean, they reconstructed nipples. And then I also got, they call it nipple rejuvenation, which is basically tattooing. In the past, like, that hasn't even been covered by insurance, but I found the one esthetician in Colorado who goes through insurance and gets it pre-approved. And I have to say, now I really enjoy having smaller breasts because I was always large chested. And so I'm really enjoying, like, not wearing a bra and scars and all. And, they're not perfect, but I'm actually really proud of them. And it's just a battle scar, similar to a cesarean or whatever. You fell out of a tree at age 8 and you're like, yeah, this is my scar. So I don't know. At this point, I really do enjoy talking to other women and hope that I can provide some solace in my cancer light journey. Still just harrowing, it's just a lot of pressure to have on somebody who is trying to build a business and raise humans and be in a loving partnership. I cried a lot last year in 2024, and I do feel like my tears are a little dried up, but I think it's probably born of toughness rather than, I know I'm not numb to it. I am willing to talk to anybody who wants to talk about this because you don't know until you know, and you go through it. And it's good to ask random questions to somebody who's been through it before.
To be able to have those questions that you might not even think about, so you can really advocate for yourself, is so powerful too. What other things would you want other women to know about this journey? What are some good resources?
Yeah, I think some people are readers and some people are not. There are a lot of good books out there, but I do think that something a little more bite-sized when you're stressed is maybe better. the insurance companies provide somebody as an advocate, and I don't think it's very helpful, but you can certainly ask them as much as possible. I'm a research person. I asked for X, Y, and Z and really got nothing back from the insurance company. The nurse advocate that they provided, I'm sure they get a lot of odd questions, just trying to figure out the scope of everything. I definitely cried to her and asked her a lot of random things and was like not in my right mind talking to this person. Help me. And so I think she was very helpful. So that's one good thing about the medical community that was around me. But I did not find any groups around. I did find somebody had recommended Casting for Recovery, which is just a weekend fly fishing trip for anybody who's ever been diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I have applied for that this year. I did not get in, but it's in like 15 states. And I don't know if I care about fly fishing, but I would love to be in nature and commune with those women who are either going through it or have. And then again, just talking to people, people come out of the woodwork for this wanting to help. And in my situation with kids at home, I had 5 different sets of people here for 5 weeks after my big surgery. And this is your time to cash in those chips. Everybody wants to show their love and support. And it's like, as a capable person, again, my knee-jerk reaction is to say, no, I'm fine. We've got this. And I really had to work to just bite that back and say, yes, thank you.
I can see that would be really hard, but also how beautiful that everybody wanted to show up for you in
Mhm.
what way they could.
Yeah. And now I feel all the love, but I also feel like, okay, how can I repay people? And I know that's not how I should think of it, but I just have so much appreciation and love for those people who showed up.
Yeah. And their gratitude from you is you being here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know it makes them feel it's active love.
Yeah.
And to be surrounded by that was such a wonderful thing. And I know even some people, it was really hard for them. Maybe they didn't like kids and they were with my kids for a week, or maybe they were just really busy at work and they still came and showed up. So I appreciate that.
What were some of the unexpected things that people did? I'm asking as a listener from the audience who maybe they aren't struggling, but they know somebody. What are some of those things that listeners may not know, but would be more appreciated or really appreciated in this situation?
I think when people are faced with something like this, the initial emotional reaction is probably a very selfish one. How does this fit into my life? This is my friend, this is my sister, this is my whatever, and this is how I feel about it. It's really difficult to step back from that emotional reaction and listen and see and evaluate what needs to be done. Everybody in my shoes is very sensitive right now, and I can see how it could very easily turn sour when somebody goes, "Oh my God, I'm so upset. I've been crying all day about you." And it's like, I can't take that on right now. So if people could take a beat and just try to take that emotional response aside for a moment and think, okay, what does this person need? How can I help? It is hard to do. This is a big thing. And we don't live in this idea of death or illness. That is an uncomfortable place. The best thing that I could have heard from people was just, what do you need? Now, I had prepared, cut off the knee-jerk reaction of, I'm fine, we got this. And I had to make a list of what do I need? And it involved dishes and laundry and food. Like, these are things that we still need every day when the world is falling apart. Meal train or Even just, we got a million food, what do you call them? Like Visa cards from the preschool that my kids were going to. Probably $500 worth of different ones that, where are we ordering from tonight, honey? And they didn't even ask. They just sent that home, just a fat stack of different gift cards. So anything thoughtful like that, it seems mundane, but it goes a long way.
That's fantastic because it gives you a sense of what do we need, right? Like, so you have the accountability of people are asking me what they can do to help. Let me tell them what they can do to help. And to, like you said, take the knee-jerk reaction away of saying, oh, I'm fine, I don't need help. And going, no, I do, which I really like because it's, as somebody who wants to be supportive, you don't want to, what if you send flowers and they have an allergy to a flower you didn't know about? Now you've made them worse, right? Or you send food over and it's absolutely like the kids won't eat it and you're nauseous. And so it just takes that, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how to be helpful. And you can say, well, if I'm being honest, what I really could use is somebody to come do the damn dishes.
Mhm. Yeah, I will say some other things that come to mind. I had a friend who was a few states away and she said, how can I help? And I said, steak, protein for healing, right? And so she just twice sent me like 8 pounds of steak from Whole Foods delivery. Or, another mom, I'm like, can you just come and take my kids to the park? It's 2 blocks away. These things seem simple and off topic, but they're exactly right.
Yeah, that's the stuff that's not obvious, especially if you're a person who's healthy and don't like, right? Because this is something I've thought about with the endo. I've had relationships and they've been like, how can I help? And I'm like, don't worry about it. It's fine. I've got it. And then over the years, you go, you know what? It's not fine. And I don't got it. I really love that. I love those honest answers. And I hope people who are listening who may have some friends in their lives that could use a little support can go, oh gosh, you know what? That's a good idea. I'm going to ask. Because sometimes it is saying, can I just come over and do your dishes? Can I come over and deep clean your kitchen? Like sometimes as the friend, I have found that I had to be like, look, let me come and do this. So having some ideas of what could actually be helpful, let me send you some meals, let me send you some gift cards, let me send even if you're not in the area, okay, well, I'll send a cleaning crew to come over and just do your bathrooms. But it is one of those things where, it can be really helpful to have some ideas that are more than just like, let me send flowers, because that's nice, but that's not helping necessarily, unless you're really somebody who, when they get flowers, feels a lot better about life. But I'd be like, great, thanks for the flowers. Now I have to water these fuckers and I'm tired.
It shows a lot of strength to ask for help.
Yeah.
It really does. And as we've talked about, it's just everybody wants to help and love on you. And then it also takes that inner strength to accept the fact that you would do this for anybody. It's okay that everyone wants to do it for you too.
Yeah. And it is important to be specific though. So it does take a little homework, either for you to respond to somebody specifically, this is what I need, or for that person to say, I'm coming over. No, before you pick up or try to cook something for me, I'm bringing this charcuterie plate and some lemonade, and then I'm going to pick up your living room with you or for you. So it's important not to add any more questions, right? Because that space, you're like living in a million questions. But I will say, I mean, that help is so important. So when people do reach out, have your questions ready. Oh, somebody, your daughter had breast cancer. Well, what did she use after surgery? I didn't know what I needed. And to research that it's like, there's not like a comprehensive list of you need a mastectomy pillow. What is a mastectomy pillow? So these are things that it's like the grapevine. It's like the old time gossip that women impart on each other.
Yeah, there's in the endo world, there's the endo surgery kit list. And whenever somebody's like, okay, I'm going in for my surgery, what do I need? Somebody goes, oh, here's the post that has the master list of everything to take with you for the surgery and what you're going to want post surgery. So there's there's definitely that exact thing where women went, you know what, no one else is going to help us. We'll help each other. There's just the ladies getting together and being like, well, let's just sort this out for ourselves then if no one else is going to do it. And it is nice to know that those communities exist and they are there and they will help you.
Yes. Yeah, I still am a part of the Facebook cancer group, even though, I mean, after my third surgery, I went to my breast cancer doctor and she said, okay, your margins are clear. Like we got all of the cancer cells. You now have less opportunity to get cancer again, like less than 3% for the rest of your life, then less than anybody else walking down the street beside you. But I'm still a part of that group and I hate to see the posts, and revisit that yucky time. But I also think it's so important because I have those answers. And if somebody is saying something that sounds very close to what I went through, I always chime in with some little bit of information and a cheerleading, you got this. We have to. It's part of going through it. You have to face it and talk about it and share.
And then take care of each other.
And take care of each other. Absolutely.
So beautiful. One last question. How do you feel in the world now after this journey? What feels different? How do you approach life if you do any differently?
I do. I mean, I think I had said earlier, my tears feel a little dried up this year, but I think it's because I'm tougher. I really, when somebody says something heavy, I lean in and pause and really try to listen because this is what life is about. The first 40 years of my life, it's like you're roaring through them. And now it's like, oh, yeah, there is weakness. The other side of the coin is there's pain, there's weakness. And that just makes the joy and the happiness that much more poignant, right? So when people are open enough to share their weaknesses with me, I will lean in and listen. It's uncomfortable because it's not perfect. I mean, why are we going, ugh, when somebody shares something yucky? Like our bodies are not going to last forever. We're not getting out of this alive. So I'm really open to sharing and to listening and trying to find the joy in, doing the dishes or laundry or whatever it is, because that's also life. I guess I've slowed down a little bit, right?
Yeah. Being in the moment, being really present. I would think this would make any person more present.
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind, I have been taking some notes of the things that you have said that were really stand out to me. And I just kind of wanted to sum it up for everyone listening. A, get support. And from what you said in this conversation so far, we're talking support family, friends, those real asks like, hey, man, can you help me pick up the living room? I can't bend over or whatever, right? And support from people who get it, like the breast cancer support community, right? The people who've been there before, who can help you pack your surgery bag, who can tell you what to look for, right? The people who've been there and then pay it forward. So the new people coming in, you can help them with your experiences, which I think is so incredibly helpful and amazing. And then also support therapy for yourself, right? For your own journey, your own one-on-one needs. And you also mentioned some energy tools, which for the audience listening, if that's a new concept for you, go listen to season 2, episode 37. So just like 2 months ago in the podcast, we had Lou Lockman on, who is a therapist who does energy tool therapy. And then Advocate. Even as a younger person, I know something we talk about all the time on this podcast, but you're here and you're sharing this story and you are a young person to get breast cancer. And there's a lot of other cancers that affect us as women. So, and they're coming in younger and younger. So advocate for yourself if you have the ability to do something, whether it's getting a scan that's outside your insurance, but at least, it's some kind of medical history or whatever it is, but advocating for yourself so that you're listened to and paying attention to.
Yes, the first part is to make sure you are physically taken care of and do the tests. And should something come up, you really just have to dig in and face it. And I think that at the end of it, you'll be stronger and happier for having talked to people. It feels yucky. I mean, nobody wants to talk about this stuff, but it's simply life. We have to face it, and we'll be stronger for having done so.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your journey and being so open and honest and real. We really appreciate you being here, and our listeners really appreciate you too. And everyone's going to go get that mammogram. And something that I was thinking as you were talking is I just got a new doctor when I moved, and it was the first time because I have dense breast tissue that she was like, why have you not been getting ultrasounds? So that's another thing to think about too, is get second opinions, talk to other women. My friend that also has dense breast tissue was like, you weren't getting ultrasounds? Like, no, because I had children at 40. I didn't get my first mammogram. You have to wait till you're done breastfeeding, 41-ish. So again, for everyone listening, talk to your girlfriends, talk to your friends, talk to everybody about what is going on in your life so you can get opinions and advocate for yourself too.
This is why I so appreciate this podcast, and I recommend it to so many people. So thank you for talking about these things that are so much more complicated and seem so much more in depth than the other half of society has to deal with. So it's a wonderful thing that you're doing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for everyone listening. And if you need to chat about anything and want to get in touch with Abby, she's here to chat with you as well. So thank you so much. And we will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
A big shout out and thank you to our sponsors for today's episode, Period Coaching School and Katie Bresek Wellness.
Thanks to you, our favorite bestie, for listening to the Period Besties podcast, where no topic is TMI. And of course, share this episode with your besties.
Remember to leave us a 5-star review, nothing less than the best for us besties, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can follow us on Instagram at Stasha Washburn and at Katie Bresek, or email us at periodbestiespodcast@gmail.com.
Check out more about us at katiebresek.com and periodcoachingschool.com. And of course, check the show notes for free goodies and extras that support this episode.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye for now, besties.